Hi, everybody. This is Live with Lisa, and it's another beautiful Tuesday evening. It's so lovely to see all of you. And I am going to be talking today about how exhausting it can feel when you're out looking for love. And I'm sure many of you have had that experience, right? I'm sure many of you are getting to the point where or have gotten to the point or keep getting, deeper and deeper into this feeling that you're getting exhausted by your search for love. I'm kind of curious how many of you are feeling that it just gets old, that no matter how hard you try and you're putting yourself out there, sometimes it just feels like you're, pulling a bag of ton of bricks up a mountain. And I know that I felt that way when I was dating, and I got very frustrated with this whole feeling that I was doing everything I thought I could possibly do. And I was showing up. I was going on the app. Or, well, we didn't have the apps when I was doing this. It was online dating, but I was going on the websites. I was diligent. I was responding to people. And it just wasn't happening for me. It was really, and I don't, anybody who knows my story knows that I went on 96 first dates in, in 3 years and 2 years. I'm sorry. I'm making it even worse than it was. I went on 96 first dates before I met Benjamin, and that was over the course of 2 years. And like anybody out there, right? I was feeling discouraged. I had moments of absolute despair. I thought it was never going to happen. I went through all of that, all of that. And I still kept going. And let's first unwrap this whole thing because I know a lot of you are putting your whole heart into this journey, right? And you're doing everything in your power to make it happen, right? Some of you are coming on my Facebook Lives all the time. Some of you are reading books. Many of you are out there going out now to places where you can meet people. There's all kinds of ways that you're putting yourself out there. You're in therapy, you're doing personal growth work. Many of you, I'm sure, are feeling like, what more could I possibly do, right? To make this happen. It feels like you're just, trying to move against the tide. And I think you have to, first of all, acknowledge that sometimes this is going to feel disappointing. It's going to feel challenging. And there will be times where you go on a date, you're totally excited, and you go on and you just, the wind gets taken out of your sails, that no matter what you do and how hard you try, you get so excited. You finally are texting with a guy that you really like. There's a lot in common. And then you show up and he's older than he said in his profile, or there's just no chemistry. You're not feeling a connection, or maybe he's quite a bit shorter you know, than he said he was, and then you just hit another wall. And sometimes it feels, I don't know about all of you, but it just feels like the waves keep crashing again and again and again. And it's really important to just cut yourself some slack, to really cut yourself some slack, and know that there is no such thing as a straight line. Whenever we're moving towards a goal or a dream or a vision, something that we really want to create in our lives, something wonderful. It may be in your job, it may have been work that you're doing in the world. Maybe some of you are doing work in the church, or you're building a nonprofit, or you're trying to become a coach, or, you have a dream, or maybe you're learning how to play the piano or an instrument, but you have some kind of dream, some goal, learning a language, and you're trying to achieve this thing. And you have to know that there are going to be many, many periods where it feels like you're not going anywhere, or even times where you dip down, right? Where it goes down, where you feel disappointed because you're not getting it. You may be learning to play the piano and going over and over and over a piece of music, and you just can't get it. You can't remember the notes, and it just feels like you keep failing and failing. But then one day you sit down at the piano and you're so present, and your fingers are dancing across the keys, and you feel so alive and in the moment, and you actually forget yourself when you're there, right? And it just becomes this magical moment where everything locks into place. But getting to that flow state, getting to that place where everything is clicking and it's all coming together, that's what you have to be willing to stay in the game, to keep practicing, to stay in there long enough for everything to come together, to coalesce. And what we forget is that it's in those struggles, it's in those setbacks, it's in the moments where we get it wrong that we're actually moving forward, even though we don't give ourselves credit for that. When we have setbacks, it's not just that we're failing, we're also learning what doesn't work. We're learning what we don't work. And so as we fail, and we sometimes slip backwards, we don't even realize that that's actually taking us forwards. So you've got to be willing. I remember when I was in coaching training, and one of our assignments was that we were supposed to put together a workshop. We teamed up with somebody else in the program, and we actually created a workshop that we did together. And um, um, we were, we were, they said, if you're not arguing or you're not having some kind of conflict, I don't know if I agree with this completely, but they said, if you're not failing or conflicting, or there's not some tension, there's not growth. Because growth happens out on that edge somewhere where it's uncomfortable, where things are not familiar, where you're in new territory. That's where growth happens. And so very often we have to move backwards before we can move forwards into this new territory. And we have to be able to allow ourselves to do this. Now, in my work, the work that I do in my 12-week emotionally naked dating program with the women who coach with me directly, me and my husband, or my husband and me, to use proper English. In this course, what's incredible, what's really beautiful is, because there's a curriculum, because there is a step-by-step plan, there's this beautiful mapped out curriculum, the women in the course will um, the women in the course will move forward faster, right? And what's beautiful is we will see the women go through week 1, week 2, week 3, and we see them move forward and then go back and have some deep insights and do some introspective work, and then they move forward a little more. But what happens is, while they're out in the dating world, in the first month, they don't date, but then they get out in the dating world. And here's what's magical about doing this process with a group of people. It's because you're in a group and you're watching other women go through the process as well, and you're seeing them fail and then pick themselves up and put themselves back out there. And they meet a guy, it doesn't work out, they're super excited, but then they get right back out there. Normally in real life, they may have given up, they may have gotten pissed off and taken down their profile. But in this course, because they've committed to this journey, they actually will get get right back out there and put, start communicating with some new guys, not lose a lot of time, and they'll move forward quickly so that they don't get stuck in the process. And the beauty is that they're not just doing this on their own, they're doing it with a group of other women who are also going through the process with them. So they're watching other women fail, right? And then get right back out there. And they watch some of these women actually just get right back out there and meet somebody. They're modeling for each other what it looks like to fall off the horse and then get right back on the horse and keep going. So when you're in a group of like-minded people who are going through this process with you, it makes it so much easier. It makes it so much easier not to keep stopping and starting and stopping and starting. The goal is to keep going. The goal is not to, let this exhaustion overwhelm you, but to understand that that's part of the learning process. I don't know how many of you realize that the more you allow yourself to get rejected, the more you face rejection, the easier it becomes, the less stressed you are about that, the less you're bracing yourself and waiting to be rejected and for that hurt and that pain, the more able you are to actually deal with it, to have the skills to talk yourself through it. So I was going to share a moment ago that in this course that I do, we identify different voices in your head. We have the voice of fear and the voice of love. And as you start to recognize the voice of fear, right, as that's the voice that moves you into exhaustion and disappointment and causes you to keep quitting on your dream. I don't know if you all even understand that if you tune into that negative voice, that voice that tells you you can't have this, there's nobody, that you're competing with all these other women who are prettier than you or younger than you, or all men can't be trusted, whatever that voice is telling you. I don't want to wind up like my mother. Right? I don't want to wind up a single parent with kids and have some guy abandon me or leave me. Whatever that voice tells you, you've got to start to learn to talk back to that voice. You cannot let that voice fill your head with lies. Yes, it may be true that that's what happened to your mother. That's what happened to my mother. But I also learned that I didn't have to listen to that voice. I could create my own reality. I could find a man who was unlike my father. I could find a man who was honest and trustworthy. And so I started to tune in to this other voice in my head, the voice of love. The voice of love knows the way to love. It knows how to love and be loved, to give love and receive it. That is the voice of positivity, the voice that knows. And the voice of love is not just a voice that says positive things. Oh, it's okay. It's going to be fine. No, you have to really learn what that voice sounds like. My inner voice is very rational. It will say, yes, your father left your mother for another woman and broke her heart, and they were different people. They were different people. You, Lisa, have the ability to create whatever you want in your life, right? So one way to overcome this exhaustion is to be able to learn how to talk to yourself and talk yourself through disappointments and situations that take you down, right? And be able to find the lessons, to get the learning, but not to let this get you down. So you've got to become what I call a positive spin doctor. You've got to learn how to be able to put a positive spin on things. And again, I'm not talking about being fake. I'm talking about being loving, but honest and real with yourself, right? You may have to say sometimes, hey, he was a great guy and you blew it, right? This just wasn't your time. What can you learn from this? How can you grow from this experience so that the next time you meet a guy like that, you'll be ready? Your heart will be open. You'll be able to express yourself without getting angry or pushing him away. What would you do differently? So it's about being able to learn and grow from each experience. Sometimes for many of you, it helps to put things in writing. You may need to keep a journal. It's really important to keep a journal of your growth and learning through dating. So every time you go on a date, you can sit down and you can ask yourself, what did this date teach me? What did I learn here? Right? What did I learn from this experience? What can I do to improve the way I show up in the future? Sometimes improving the way you show up means that you know when to leave sooner. Sometimes you're very clear the minute you meet somebody, nope, not going to work. Right? Maybe you stick around too long and that's exhausting because you're trying to be nice to some guy when you know it's not a match. Maybe next time what you learned was you spend 10 minutes and then you say, you know what? It was lovely meeting you and I so appreciate you coming out and thank you. Thank you. And I wish you all the best. And you finish up your coffee and you go. And sometimes it means that you look at yourself and you say, wow, I was really intimidated by this guy. He was so hot. And I just gave all my power away. I just sat there like an idiot. I didn't talk. I went up in my head. How can I do this differently next time? What can I do the next time I sit across from a really hot guy that I like, and so that I don't lose my power with him? But if you make your dating journey, if you see every date as a stepping stone to love and you start focusing on the spiritual growth and learning, maybe going on a date with a guy where you lose your power, maybe the next time you get wildly curious about him. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to be really excited about this guy. I'm going to show more enthusiasm and I'm going to get more interested instead of going up in my head and worrying about whether or not he likes me. The next time I go on a date like that, I'm going to be wildly curious and I'm just going to really ask him some questions about him and the things that he's sharing and really show interest in the guy, right? Maybe what's his name? Dale Carnegie talks all about if you want someone to like you got to like them. If you want people to be interested in you, you have to show interest in them. One of my big things was I would go on dates and I didn't feel good enough or pretty enough. And I'd get up in my head and I would just talk about me. Those guys that you all go on dates with and they're boring as hell and all they do is talk about themselves. Well, that was me. I did that. I was trying to sell myself and seem interesting. And I was trying to overcompensate for my insecurities in other areas. And so I tried to prove to men on dates that I was an interesting woman. What I really did was I showed them what a bore I was. So let's see here. Barry says, and this is lovely, what is one quick reminder we can tell ourselves when we feel like our hope is running low due to a shortage of matches? You can't practice without someone across the table. So Barry, the first thing is, taking steps to see if maybe you can switch a website, you can go onto a different app, try something new. Maybe you may need to take a break. One really good way to stimulate your matches is by hiding your profile for a few days or taking it down and then reposting it. When you repost it or make it go live again, then you can get a whole new crop of matches, a lot of new interest. If you're not getting a lot of matches and you're you're running low, take a break. Just take a break, do something different, shift your focus for a little while. Just shift your focus to something new. Do something creative, do a cleanse, start going to the gym, but shift your focus. Maybe, decide to go to some yoga classes for a week. Anything to break the pattern, to break the trend. Sometimes we just need to have what's called a pattern interrupt. And a pattern interrupt can happen just by you shifting your main focus from dating to something completely different for a short time. And then coming back almost like you've taken a vacation, but consciously focus on something else other than men and dating. That will really, just shift your energy around. Then you can put up new pictures. You can get new photos taken. You can have a friend take some on their iPhone. Anything to shake it up, but come back fresh and new, and even write a new profile and just, put yourself up there in a whole new way. Keep in mind that every time you write a new profile and you put up new photographs, you actually get attention from a bunch of different people. So switch your main headshot, put up a new, something new, but keep switching it up because you're going to keep attracting new attention that way. Anybody else have questions? I'm here, and they can be questions related to this subject, like what to do when you're just exhausted or you feel like you're at the end of your rope, or you're ready to give up. I don't say this just because I'm a coach and I'm supposed to be on these, on these things promoting myself, but I do really, really, really encourage all of you to work with a professional love coach. Here's the deal. You're out there, you're spinning your wheels, and like anything else we do in life, working with a professional who can really guide you through this process, it's going to take years off your dating. It really can take years and years and years off your dating life, because there are things you don't know, right? That a coach is going to be able to teach you. So many of you are out there with the wrong photos, with the wrong profiles. You're out there communicating with men and making just colossal blunders that are costing you time, that if you just had the right information, the right guidance, a step-by-step plan to walk you through this, you wouldn't be doing this. And so many of you are suffering. You're suffering. You're causing yourselves a lot of pain by going through this stuff. And you're not doing yourself a service. In fact, you're causing yourself more pain. You set yourself back because you're causing yourself unnecessary pain, and you're losing time when, if you had the right answers, you could get this thing solved. It's no coincidence that people come in and work with me and they get this solved quite quickly. In fact, last week, I had 2 engagements and 1 wedding just last week. During the pandemic, these people all met, all of these couples, the 2 that got engaged and the one that got married, all of them met during the pandemic. Believe it or not, I hear very, very frequently that, a lot of people will use the pandemic as a reason not to date. And I can tell you that's nuts. That's nuts. I mean, in any kind of situation, smart people just pivot, and they are able to take whatever's happening in the world, and instead of using it as an excuse, they find a way to make it work for them. Those are the people who are resourceful and succeed in life. So people who are resourceful, those are the ones who succeed. So let's see what Amal says. Someone in love deeply with a man she can't have children. He raises his 3 brothers since his dad has passed early, so he doesn't want children. He already did this with his big brother. She makes his life um, something saying he will leave her. He keeps telling her he loves her. Even he cries or has tears to prove it, but she does not believe it. What is your advice? Well, you know, Amal, Amal, you are going to have to trust a man. And if there's a reason, why you don't trust him, something he's done to make you feel that you can't trust him, then you have to look at that. But if it's just because you've had your heart broken in the past and you have trust issues, you have to look at that, right? So if it's something that he has done to cause you not to trust him and think that he's a man of his word, then you need to take that into account. But if you just have trust issues and you're projecting this on him, and this is someone, that you deeply love, um, then you're going to have to work through your own trust issues and come to a place of learning how to trust. So you said that he has a lot of girls in his past. Well, here's the thing. The only way, honey, we can know if we can trust someone is to say, yes, let's do this. Let's see where this goes and see if it, and see what happens. Now, there's something about men who have intimacy issues. It's very easy for them to promise you the moon when there's no commitment. And this is a big mistake that many, many, many women make. So, I actually spoke to a woman today on a call, and she was doing this. She was seeing a man. The man is considerably younger than her, and like over a decade younger, and she's never had a healthy, loving, committed relationship in her life, and she's going along in this relationship with this guy, and he keeps telling her that he cares about her and that he's into her, and he's showing her with his actions that he is. But here's the problem: men who don't want to commit, this is exactly the setup they want. They want a woman who's not asking for anything. She's not putting boundaries or expectations on the relationship. So he can do whatever he wants, right? He shows up, he's courting her, he's making her feel like he's her boyfriend, but there's zero commitment here, none. Meanwhile, she's developing feelings for him, but she's not, she said, I don't want to commit because I don't even know if this is the guy I want to commit to. And yet she's developing feelings for him, and she's basically having a relationship with him, and she's getting emotionally attached. So she's putting herself in a horrible position because she's lying to herself. She really wants it to work, but she's afraid to find out if he really is interested in her. And all she would have to do is go for it, right? If she said, you know what, let's do this, let's get off the apps and let's really see where this thing is going to go. That's how she's going to find out if he is into her, right? She will find out when she says, let's go for it. Let's give it a go. Let's see if this can actually be a relationship or not. And then that's when he's either going to bolt, or say, oh, you know what? He's going to pull away emotionally and start distancing himself. But right now, it's all fun. He gets to have a girlfriend experience without having to commit to her and be her boyfriend. So Amal, as long as you stay on the fence with this guy, that's what's going to happen. You'll develop feelings for him. You have feelings for him, it sounds like, But you're never going to know if he really is a man of his word or not until you put both feet in and see if he really continues along in the same way, if he really is a man of his word. And that's how you'll find out. So you have to put both feet in and just see what he does. Otherwise, you're wasting time. And I know it's scary to do this. I was sharing today something that happened with my husband and me. We met, and 3 months into our relationship, we went to Catalina Island. It was right after Christmas. I had bought him a beautiful Tumi bag for Christmas, and then I took him to Catalina. We didn't have a lot of time to get away, a lot of vacation time, but we went for the weekend. And while we were there, we were standing in the bathroom, in this little tiny bathroom in this cute hotel, and we were both brushing our teeth together. And it was this incredibly common, just this moment. And we were so at ease, and it felt like we had been together forever. And I looked at Benjamin and I said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. Now, talk about being emotionally naked. That could have gone any one of a million ways, right? I mean, he could have had a look on his face like I just threw a bucket of cold water at him. He could have said, taken a big gulp and said, "Oh, okay." Right? And this was 3 months into our relationship. And he looked at me and he said, "You better." So that's what you're looking for. And then he continued to follow through, right? He continued to follow through. He kept pursuing me. And we got closer and closer and closer until one day he looked at me and he said, "Go find a house for us," right? "Go find a house for us." And I did. And we got engaged a year after we met. And then after I engaged on the first anniversary of our first date. And then we got married on the second anniversary of our first date. So it was, Lisa, yes, it was very courageous. In fact, I had no idea in the moment. I didn't even think it through. It just came out of my mouth. But, it's good that it did, because if Benjamin wasn't the right man, if he didn't have both feet in, I needed to know, because I didn't want to waste time. I knew that there was a man out there for me, an absolutely extraordinary man. And I want you all to get this. I want you all to get this. There are extraordinary partners out there for every single one of you. Every one of you. But you can't just go along in relationships. You can't get bogged down or exhausted by dating. You can't. The people who get this, who get the kind of love that I have had with Benjamin for 19 years, it takes courage. It takes commitment. It takes vision and passion. We create our reality by our ideas. Our thoughts create our reality. We dream this man into existence. I know, I listen to people talk. I listen to their every word, their every phrase. I hear women say, "Oh, I want this and I want this and I want this." And I know all relationships are going to be work, but no, not all relationships are work. Not all relationships are hard. Not all relationships have conflict. And don't ever believe and buy into those lies, because if you make those lies part of your truth, that's what you're going to create. Do you all get this? That is what you will attract. We create our reality through our thoughts and our beliefs about what's possible. And then we go out into the world. And yes, it gets exhausting sometimes. Yes, it feels at times like it will never happen. But you put one foot in front of the other. You keep learning. You keep growing. You keep realizing that every single man you meet is giving you another piece of the puzzle so that you can create that dream. There's an idea, a concept that our life is a canvas. And what we're doing is we take an idea, a thought, a belief, and we throw it out there. We throw it out there, and then we sit back and we see how the universe responds, how people respond, how men respond, right? And then we reassess it. I didn't quite get what I wanted there. Maybe I need to, do a little fine tuning or some tweaking. Then we throw it back out there again and we test it, and we keep doing this. We put it out and we test it, and then we bring it back and we readjust. And then we keep doing that until the vision of what we want and what we're putting out are one. Now, I had an epiphany when I was in a meditation group. I had a breakthrough right before I met, but that propelled me on my journey to finding what I call the guardian of my soul. And in this meditation, I knew that most spiritual paths are leading us to God or unconditional love. They're actually synonymous. God and unconditional love are one. And I always thought that unconditional love was an ideal, but that it wasn't real. It was something that we would strive for, but never attain. Well, at the time of this meditation and this breakthrough, I was reading The Power of Now. And what happened was I put the pieces together. The pieces came together in my mind, and I realized that if all we have is the eternal now, this moment, if that's all we have, then we can find unconditional love now in this lifetime. And that this is what most spiritual paths are guiding us toward. The Kabbalah, the Bible, all, the Quran, like all of these, A Course in Miracles, all of these beautiful spiritual paths are teaching us the stepping stones to unconditional love: patience, kindness, peace, gratitude, thoughtfulness, selflessness, surrender. These are all the stepping stones to love, to unconditional love. And they're showing us how to do it right now. And when I realized that this was attainable, that unconditional love was real, I decided that that was what I was going to seek. Not a soulmate, not the one, not a perfect partner, but truly, truly the guardian of my soul. The one man that I could love and accept unconditionally, exactly the way he was. And that was what I took out into my dating life. And I got out of my head. I didn't try to, overthink it. So many of you are doing that. You're really trying to think your way there. And there's this beautiful saying in 12-step that you don't think yourself into right action. You act yourself into right thinking. You don't think yourself into right action. You act yourself into right thinking. So many of you are doing it backwards. You're trying to figure it out. One of the most incredible things about this process is that it's something that you have to learn how to trust your gut and your intuition. It's good to have certain pieces of the puzzle. You have to know what you must have in a partner. I'm going to digress, but one of the really beautiful things about doing my course is that in the very first month of doing this course, I show you how to get clear on exactly what you need to have. We actually, in this first month, I have this beautiful process where we really put all of the pieces together. So in 1 month, we work on self-love. We work on attachment styles, how to identify, not just read a book about attachment styles or a Medium article about avoidant men. I'm talking about really being able to sit across from a man on a date and be able to tell, is he anxious, avoidant, or secure? And are you anxious, avoidant, or secure? And if you are anxious or avoidant, how do you start to behave like a secure woman, like a secure dater? So we work on this because you're going to have to learn how to be more secure with men, right? And with intimacy. And then we do an inventory, a history of your entire relationship history with men, right? A history from start to finish. And we include your mother and father in this history because your mother and father have such a huge influence over your choice in partners. So we go through this history and we pull out patterns, repeating patterns, because patterns that repeat are where you are stuck, where you're not learning your lessons. And if you keep repeating those same mistakes, you're going to keep doing what you've always done. You're going to keep picking avoidant men. You're going to keep settling in the same ways, and it's going to keep you stuck in the same place. So, and this is insidious until you break these patterns and figure out what they are. You're going to stay stuck and probably keep picking narcissists or guys that are avoidant or emotionally unavailable or whatever. Or maybe you're the avoidant one who keeps running away from good men, but you will keep making those same mistakes. So in week 3, we look at extracting those repeating patterns so that we can break them. And then I have you do an exercise called your final 5. And almost all the women who go through my 12-week emotionally naked dating course tell me that those final 5 were what helped them find true love. That's what led them to the guardian of their soul. And these are not 5 things that you make up. These are the 5 things that you have to have in a partner to break those 5 repeating patterns that you pulled out of your history. And then you come up with the 5 behaviors that you're going to have to change inside of you in order to attract a man like that. Because you're not, you're accepting men who don't make money or have financial issues or aren't as educated as you are or whatever, who are abusive, not because, you just are unlucky in love, but because a part of you is you're willing to accept that as a bargaining chip. If I accept the fact that you don't make a lot of money, maybe you'll accept me, I'm overweight, or I struggle financially myself. But we use these things, we settle because these are our bargaining chips. I'll accept this about you if you'll accept this about me. And so that's what we do. I had, used money. I supported so many of my former partners financially, not, I did it because I didn't think a man would love me for me. And so I got men who loved me for my money. And it didn't work. I was always unhappy. I never, I didn't enjoy going on trips or vacations or doing things and paying for my partners. That wasn't sexy, especially while I watched other men, treating other women and bending over backwards for them. I wanted that, but I wasn't dating those men. I didn't have the self-esteem for that. And so I had to shift something inside of me to start to believe that I deserved to have a man who was more of on an equal financial standing as I was. But I had to shift that. And so in my course, we help you get clear. We give you the pieces of this puzzle so that you can go out into the dating world and know how to bring wonderful men into your life so that you can have your choice of men instead of just waiting for the guy that asks you out, the one that's chasing you or the next one that comes along. You bring a lot more men into your world, into your sphere of influence, so that you can actually choose the man that you want to spend your life with, right? And this is something that really has to happen from the heart. You're not going to think your way there. You can get the pieces of the puzzle together, but then you're going to have to recognize your guardian of your soul when he sits down across from you. Nobody can do this for you. This is work that all of you have to do on your own. So who has questions? Anybody have questions? If you're going to not be overwhelmed and exhausted by this process, you're going to have to do a few things. You're going to first have to give yourself permission to feel down sometimes, not to make up a big story about it, that you're a loser or that you don't deserve it or whatever, but just to allow yourself to go through the disappointment. There's something wild about emotion. If you don't block it, if you allow it to just pass through you, it will go through you and then it will pass by and then you'll get back to feeling good. So Patricia is asking, what is the concept of the guardian of your soul? So Patricia, when we think about a soulmate is a noun. A guardian of your soul is a verb, right? It's a verb. So a soulmate or a twin flame, these are concepts. These are constructs that other people have created. A guardian of your soul is a person who wants what's best for your soul in this lifetime. It is a partner who doesn't limit your freedom to be, but recognizes who you are and who you're striving to be and supports you. That could mean that maybe you need to go away, for a month to write a book. And the guardian of your soul would support you and encourage you. Go away, honey. Let's find you a cabin somewhere so that you can hole up and just finish this book that seems to be, your passion project. I'll be fine. I'll take care of the kids or I'll watch the dogs, but you go ahead and do what you need to do and I'll be here when you get back. It's the person that sees who you are and wants you to be all of who you are and isn't threatened by that, and who's willing to sacrifice of himself for you to do that, who loves you so much that he will not get in your way, right? For his own selfish reasons. So this has been the relationship that I have with my husband. We support each other in going for our goals and dreams. In fact, that's funny that you are a writer. That is so funny. But, it's like my husband, he's the one who looked at me 3 months after we'd been dating. I had an importing company and he said to me, you should really be a therapist or a coach. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, because that's your passion. That's what you talk about. Personal transformation. That's all I hear you talking about. And he said, you may have been excited about or passionate about importing at one time, but that was then and this is now, right? This is your true passion. And so I listened to him. I value his opinion above anyone else's, sometimes even more than my own. And I know that sometimes he sees things more clearly than I do. And so I trusted him and um I sold my business to an ex-boyfriend, and Benjamin and I are, I became a love coach. And now, since COVID, Benjamin's been working with me in my business. It's really been beautiful. Kelly said I'm the avoidant attachment one, but I'm trying after dating for 5 months. Well, that's wonderful, Kelly. I highly recommend that you read the book. There's a book called Attached. And if you haven't read it, it's by Amir Levine. Being an avoidant or having an avoidant attachment style, it can be really tricky because it's the hardest attachment style to change. I used to have an avoidant attachment style, so I know exactly what it's like, and it's not fun. Not fun at all. So please be careful, and read the book and start to explore this, because it's one thing to go, oh, I have an avoidant attachment style, but it's a whole different story to actually get beyond that and develop into a more securely attached person. So be careful. Lisa said, and look at you now, Lisa, an extraordinary coach who has changed the lives of thousands of people. Thank you, Lisa. It's so good to have you back and seeing you being more, back to your former self, who I love and adore. I know that you've had a lot going on in your life. So any questions? Anybody have questions about avoidant attachment style, about what to do when you feel exhausted? I will share that there was a point where I was in despair, regarding my love life. I really did think, there was a point where I wondered if it was ever going to happen for me. And I really hit a bottom. And I called a girlfriend of mine. She's amazing. Her name is Audrey, and she's a therapist, maybe one of the very best out there. She's just a phenomenal human being. And I called Audrey and I said, Audrey, I can handle everything but the loneliness. I just feel so lonely. And I did. I'm introverted. I don't love going out all the time. I just want to nest and have my person. My needs are pretty simple that way. I don't need a lot of people or attention. And I was crumbling inside. And Audrey said to me, she said, Lisa, just feel it. Just feel lonely. She said, just feel lonely. Just give yourself permission to feel what it feels like to be lonely. Stop pushing it away, making it wrong, trying to run from it. And I did that. I sat down on the floor in my office in the corner against a wall, and I just cried. There were no stories, there were no words. I just cried. I sobbed. And I don't know if I sobbed for, 3 minutes or 3 hours. I have no idea. But when I was all done, I got up and I went and I looked in the mirror, and there was mascara all over my face, and it wasn't pretty. But the beauty was I was alive. I felt it, and it didn't kill me. And if that's as bad as it ever got, right? If going into the depths of my loneliness and just feeling it, not running away from it or trying to distract myself from it, but just feeling it. And if I was still okay at the end of that, I felt like I could do anything. And that was really a big turning point for me, a huge turning point. Lynn says, thank you, Lisa. I needed to hear this today. I've been thinking about giving up. 15 years of looking, and the loneliness is real. Lynn, I wish you and I could get on a call together, honey. There's no reason to waste or to spend 15 years of your life looking for love. This is something, you can put the pieces of the puzzle together, and you can learn this quickly with the right help. the right coaching, the right help, you can go to lisashield.com and just watch my presentation. I have a 45-minute presentation. It's completely free. If you like what you hear, you and I can jump on a call and I'll, help you. I'll tell you how we can get this solved. Casey asks, what is an avoidance attachment? And Casey, it's actually an avoidant attachment style. And there are three: anxious, avoidant, and secure. There's also some people who have an anxious avoidant attachment style where they're both. So it's called an avoidant attachment. And what that means is that it's a great question. When you are getting close to somebody, either you or they may, when the intimacy starts to get real, when the relationship starts to become closer, one person pulls away. So they're fine all the way up until it starts to become a commitment. Sometimes they'll even do what's called love bombing. Love bombing is when somebody is avoidant, but they come on hard and fast and strong. They blow you away. And then the minute they get your heart, they disappear. They ghost. And it's like, what the hell just happened? I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, where somebody was pursuing you like a fiend, and then it started to get real. Maybe you talked about taking your profiles down. Maybe you got intimate and had sex, but something happens that's a turning point for the avoidant. There's like a switch that gets flipped, and suddenly they go from thinking that you're amazing to running away. And that's not healthy behavior. That's not normal. That's not how secure people navigate a relationship. A secure person, they would communicate with you. They would come to you and say, wow, things are moving faster than I expected. I would love for us to be able to slow this down a little bit. I realize, that we just met 3 months ago and we're already, talking about moving in together. And I'm realizing that I'm starting to feel some pressure. And would it be okay if we just get to know each other a little more? But that person would communicate. He would recognize that something was going on with him. And then he would then talk to you about it and communicate with you rather than just cutting and running. So Marina said, I did go through that. He disappeared suddenly after things were great. Marina, that's often the sign of an avoidant attachment style. That's usually that is usually a sign. And you just want to walk away. These people may come back. They'll make excuses. They'll say, oh my God, it was just moving too quickly. I'm so sorry, or whatever. And then very often we take them back and it's the same thing all over again. It'll just play out all over again because this person has really deep fear of intimacy. So somebody who has an avoidant attachment style actually is afraid of losing his independence in a relationship. And so they're so afraid that if they get involved with somebody, that it's gonna take away their personal freedom. And so they run. Marina, I'm so sorry, honey. I know it's really hard to get these guys out of your mind, and I totally get that. I had an avoidant guy also right before I met my husband, Benjamin. And for the first time, I knew what was happening. I was present. I could see the whole thing playing out. And it is insidious because in the very beginning, everything seems so wonderful. It just seems like everything we've been dreaming about and, everything we've read about. And suddenly this man shows up and he's so excited and, he just wants you and you want him. And it seems like everything's aligning. And then gone over. So I wouldn't go back because the pattern will 99 times out of 100 repeat unless the guy's done some serious therapy in between. All right, everybody, I have to run. Please give me it is a pattern. Please give me a thumbs up or a heart if you enjoyed today's talk. Come back and see me again. Tell your friends. I do 3 Facebook Lives each week. I do Monday at noon Mountain Time. That is called Lunch with Lisa. Then on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, I do Live with Lisa. This is an hour-long Q&A. And then finally, the last thing is on Sundays, and you really want to mark this on your calendars, ladies, on Sunday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I do something called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Okay, you want to mark this on your calendar. So getting inside the right male mind. This is with my husband, Benjamin. And I spend an entire hour every Sunday morning talking to Benjamin about love and dating and what men are really looking for from us, right? What they're looking for from us. I probe his mind so that he can share all of the beautiful things that most men never say. That most men, oh, thank you, Marina. Yes, he really does nail it. My husband is a man who is truly a man who lives in his heart. And you will find few men who speak from their heart about masculine things as openly and as passionately and as lovingly and consciously as Benjamin does. So please join us. Love School. That's great, Patricia. That's really, really beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. Love to everybody. Please join us on the next call. I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. And please say hello. Casey, thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And please tell your friends, not just your girlfriends, but your male friends. And one last thing, starting this Thursday, we are doing, or I am creating a podcast. So some of you can't tune in all the time to these talks, but you can come on a podcast. You can listen to it in your car when you're driving or when you're at the gym or you're out walking. So look for there will be 2 podcasts. There's one podcast called Dating Without Drama, and this one starts this Thursday. If you're on my mailing list, and if you want to get the notice for this, you can go to Lisa Shield Dating and Relationships, and you will find the link. You'll find all of this posted on my business page. So Dating Without Drama that's my new podcast this Thursday. And there's also, we will be turning Getting Inside the Right Male Mind also into a podcast. All right, everybody, I ran a little long tonight. Love to all of you. So wonderful to see my clients, my former clients, my current clients, and all the beautiful women who come on these calls. My love to all of you. And I will see you next week. Bye, everybody. And please say hello if you come on any of the other Facebook Lives. Have a beautiful evening, everyone.